Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Ohio Eternal podcast. So tonight we are looking to build a sideboard. When you first get into Magic the Gathering, coming from like Commander or other formats, sideboarding is something that's probably a little foreign to you. So I thought that we would kind of build a sideboard and talk through kind of the thought process that goes into building a sideboard. You might notice Tony Plowshares jump in about halfway through. He got delayed at work this evening, and I think that his insight can definitely, help us look at the sideboard as well. But Ben and I are going to do our best with kind of breaking down what is sideboarding, why it's important, and then we're going to build one for Moonstompy or Mono Red Prison. Okay, so Mr. Ben, the Hood's Last Hope, how are we doing this great evening?
Alive and well.
Heck yeah.
My hoodie came in, which
love that for you.
It's the pink one with the anime girl on the back that with the pierced tongue. For any of you who don't know, I typically wear unhinged shit. Actually, every episode I've had a tie-dye on, or like I'm wearing a tie-dye 3-6 Mafia shirt. Cool shirts for $20.69. My buddy, actually, anybody that plays Magic in the Columbus area should know Dylan, and if they don't, you're missing out. He's one of my favorite human beings of all time. One of my best friends since I've known him since 6th grade, which is crazy. Nice. But he makes cool shirts, and he's not into the anime girl shit, but, hold on. It's not super anime. I'll show you later. We'll not
cool.
But yeah, we're doing sideboard stuff tonight.
I love that. And if you did not join, and if you are joining on the live right now, we should be live on YouTube. I will try to keep an eye out for any chats that come in. I do apologize for the people that messaged last night, and I didn't see those until the end. Again, we were just kind of practicing, getting used to the platform, so I do apologize. But if you do have questions live, please feel free to put them in the comments, in the chat, and if I see them, we will get those answered for you.
Oh, also good news, because he asked how I was doing. So the hoodie showed up, but also my secret layers shipped. So I've got, that was cool, dude. I just emoticonned a thumbs up because I did some actions. But the hoodie showed up and my secret layers shipped. So
nice. And which secret layers did you get?
Well, I got, so through the secret layer website, I actually got 2 non-foil Iron Mans because those were all that was left. It was between that and Black Panther. But then I ended up through, yeah. Oh, it switched to the media board as the video. I don't know if you saw it, but I got 2 non-foil Iron Mans, and then because I really wanted Storm and I missed out on the opportunity to buy it because everybody else bought it, I ended up going on TCG Player and getting scalped by a shop for $150 on that foil. But, got to do what you got to do. Hey, the Storm card itself, herself is selling for like $120 now, so I'm not too mad. I mean, if they keep going up, then I'll have made out, but I just want to riffle shuffle it, so who cares?
Right. And I'm pretty excited. I want to send it out to get graded, but I actually have the comic book from Magicon, the Storm comic. The Wolverine one.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Actually, if you send it out to get graded and you end up not keeping it, I would be willing. If you were going to end up selling them, I got first dibs on the Storm one.
So I will talk to my nephew because I know that he wants to sell his Storm one. And Perfect. He is potentially coming on Sunday, so he definitely wants to get some more cards for his sneak and show deck. So he's money hungry, so he would probably sell his.
Yeah, if he's selling it, just send it in with yours to get graded, and I'll just buy it. Whatever the cost is, just let me know. I'm in.
Awesome. Faux show. Okay, so let's get into sideboarding. So sideboarding is in more limited formats, or I don't want, I guess not limited, but in formats that are 60 card. You basically, in between games 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, you can kind of change your deck based on, you have 15 slots that you can change your deck to maybe hedge your bets a little bit, or either work your plan so it's better against the type of deck that you're playing, or stop the other person's deck from doing. So, and this is going to be a very different episode than when we talk about Storm, because Storm has a mechanic where he's kind of using his sideboard as a wish board, so he can like go and grab stuff out of it during the game. So it is a little bit different. This is a very like vanilla kind of building a sideboard based on either stopping a plan or making your plan land a little bit better based on your matchups. Ben, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Do you ever play like Burning Wish effects? No? Okay. I didn't know, because like sometimes like it's not uncommon now to see red decks just playing those things as like a answer for things that, like a 2 of or something cute, but yeah, I wasn't sure.
No, we do not. Not that I've seen, not that I've played with. I think I was telling you earlier, I'm very much a turn everything into mountains, turn stuff sideways gamer. Yeah. I'm not smart enough to like sequence stuff to go get stuff off the shelf. So this is the deck that I am on right now. As far as Red Prison, just going through kind of my choicing here. 3 Fury. So again, what I'm looking for are, with my red cards, is 2 things. I'm going to need things to pitch to Chrome Mox. So that way I can, my goal is to get a Blood Moon effect or a, either a Blood Moon effect or a threat on turn 1. So my mana acceleration is having the Chrome Mox there, using the soul lands like City of Traders, some Simian Spirit Guides in there, 4 of, in order to exile and get mana from hand. And then as far as pitching is concerned, I do need stuff for Fury. That is how I deal with some threats. And another cool interaction that is there is with the Bombardiers. What I can do is I can evoke a Fury onto the battlefield and then use its boast effect, which says sacrifice another creature or artifact. Broadside Bombardier does damage equal to 2+ the sacrifice permanent's mana value to any target. So while that is entering evoked onto the battlefield, I then respond to that trigger with this boast effect, and then I'm able to take my Fury, which is 5 mana, and do 7 damage to either a, right to the face or to something on the battlefield. So red cards are important to me for those reasons. And also, my goal is to turn everything into a mountain. So with that, I want to make sure that the things that I have, obviously can be cast with mountains. Once you do cast that Blood Moon, it does slow your acceleration down a little bit. So with your City of Traders that normally tap for 2, it only has 1. With your Ancient Tomb, it only taps for 1. Now, you don't have the downside of taking 2 life, but it's still only 1 mountain at that point. So just to kind of give an example.
I'm sure you're okay with that, though, right? Like, I'm sure that's the goal, is to, like, to get the Blood Moon out to stop them from being able to play Magic, so that you can do whatever you want whenever you want. You're like, now I'm in no rush. I stopped you from doing your thing, so, like, we're good.
Yep, 100%. And then there's a couple other things that are interesting about this deck. So the MDFC lands, those come in without any downside, which is cool. So if you're drawing those late game, but also we do have some land destruction with Sundering Eruption. So if they do have a basic out there, where Legacy's at right now, there's a lot of greedy mana bases. So I can blow up that basic in order to force them either out of a color. A lot of them are running, one ofs, one green land, one blue, et cetera, which is nice. And then what's cool about this, creatures without flying can't block this turn. So I'm able to, again, chip away damage in there. But what's cool is the other side of this land would normally cost you 3 life in order to put it out there. When you have the Blood Moon effect out there, you don't get that. It just comes in as a regular land, which makes it super powerful. So as far as my flex slots in this deck, I am filling them with a Cursed Mirror. I've been pretty high on this card. A one of, as it enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of a creature on the battlefield until the end of turn, and mine has haste. So if I do get, Archon, next turn, they untap, I pop this out there. I'm copying their Archon. They're sacrificing their Archon, and we've kind of flipped the battle. We've kind of flipped that axis a little bit. Also, for the big scary Eldrazi that are out there, it's nice because I can just, again, have mine and send it at them because mine has haste, which is pretty awesome. And at its worst, it's still going to tap for mana, or it gives me a 5 direct damage with Bombardiers. So again, I feel good about having this as a one of, as far as like a toolbox being able to answer a threat. And then I've been pretty happy with the Lelias so far. They get pretty big pretty quick. And it's been, again, 2/2 that gets bigger on your exiles. And also, if, in a pinch, if you look at the last part there, whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Lelia. So with that, like if you're, let's say you have one of the Ghost Vacuums out, what's nice is if you have Lelia on the battlefield and you get to an end step and you haven't exiled anything from your, opponent's graveyard, you could potentially respond and exile something from your graveyard, pump Lelia, go to untap, and you can still have your Ghost Vacuum if they try to do like an Entomb Reanimate type of plan. So there is a really cool synergy there as well. And then we do have the fairies. So again, we're going to use them on, their stuff, but if we're, 2 damage away from winning the game with a Lelia, we have that option that we can, pump her even more, which is pretty cool. So another addition or change to this deck is it used to run Chalice. Now it's settling a little bit more into the Vexing Baubles in order to protect your Moon effect. So right now it's common to go Mountain Bauble, and then as you get more baubles, you're getting card draw or you're getting fodder for the Bombardiers to throw. It is a 1-ring deck as well, so we are getting our protection. We're also getting card draw if we can land one of these on turn 1, which is not actually that hard to do on turn 1 or 2. We could just run away with the game, which is cool. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the Goyfs. So everybody in the Discord, when Pyrogoyf first came out, me and this one other guy were like, hey, this is going to be sweet in here. And everybody said we were wrong. And they're like, yeah, that's wild. Like, that's too much mana for this deck, blah, blah, blah. And as you look now, after in my first match, I took this Reflection of Kiki Jiki, and then I made a copy of the Goyf and just took the person out of the game. That's where it started gaining attention. So Pyrogoyf says its power is equal to the number of card types among card types in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to 1 plus that number. And then whenever it comes in, it does damage to any target based on its power. So when it comes into the battlefield, you have that initial burn effect. But then what's cool is you can have your Kiki Jiki make a copy of that. We're running 3 of them, so we can draw into another one. Or our friend, the Cursed Mirror, can also enter and be a copy. And what's cool is when you have 2 of them on the battlefield, they're both going to trigger. So you're going to be able to deal a ton of damage, even if there's only 3 card types in the graveyard or 4 types in the graveyard. That's still 8 damage, plus 4 from the original time. So you're doing 12 damage. I think the most I did was like 15 damage in 1 turn. So the Goyfs can get, very much out of control. And it's a great card, and it's become a staple in this deck. So down here we have kind of a sideboard that I'm pretty okay with. There's still some things that might change based on our matchups. We have our Dead and Gone. So again, return. The big thing is for 3 mana, returning that target creature you don't control to its owner's hand. So if you do have a Merit Lage out there, being able to return that to hand is really nice. Amongst other threats that are there, big scary Eldrazi with Sneak and Show, any of those, it helps us deal with that. We then have Fiery Confluence, and I feel like this is the sleeper card in the deck. People aren't expecting it. What a lot of people don't realize is it says choose 3, and then you may choose the same mode more than once. Okay, so here we have dealing 1 damage to each creature. Well, that could potentially be up to 3 damage to each creature. Deal 2 damage to each opponent, so we could deal 6 damage, or destroy target artifact. We could actually destroy 1 artifact, which is pretty cool, especially in the mirror match with the chrome boxes that are there, vexing baubles, stuff like that. So Fiery Confluence is very much that utility card. Oh, 1 second. Well, it sounds like we started a YouTube video, and I don't want to get a copyright strike in the background. That could be bad.
Granger offers supplies and solutions for every industry.
It's goodbye.
Dude,
I randomly started.
I love the mayhem. dude, mid explanation, the dogs go wild. Okay,
wild. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like there's like the Home Depot chime behind me. I was like, "Yep, there's our copyright strike."
And you're like snapping, like, "Hey, dude, like, hey, relax, pups."
Yeah, we're good. I'm like snapping, like trying to get him to stop.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing it live. We're doing it live.
Yeah, we're alive and well.
So next we have our Fairy Macabres. So with the Fairy Macabres, it's been kind of the standard to exile, a couple creatures. It doesn't feel dead, later on in the game like the ley lines did. Overall, it's been much, much better switching over to these to kind of cherry pick things. Also with Reanimator, like if they're trying to, like if they push one of your threats, they'll try to reanimate it. So sometimes I've actually had to get rid of my own stuff because they're trying to steal it from me because they can't find, their reanimation target. So
a really nice thing too with the Macabres is like, it's an ability, so it can't be countered, which Reanimator playing counter spells and counter magic is relevant. So like, that just being in existence, they have to play around it and be aware of it, even if it's not in, which is nice. Like even if you don't have it in your hand, they have to expect it to potentially be a card in your hand. So if you're not leading on a pre-game effect Leyline of the Void, then they're assuming that you kept a Fairy Macabre, which means that they're going to play around it or forced to play around it, which forces them to play slow. And they don't really have the luxury of doing that because you are a fast deck as well. Because like you can just go turn 1 Blood Moon, you're mad, or turn 1, the One Ring. Now we're really making you mad. But the Macabre's a cool choice for that purpose. Like it's like surgical extraction, but in the sense that you're doing it uncounterable.
100%. Next thing is our Disruptor Flute. So this has been an interesting one, and this is more of kind of a catch-all to throw people off as far as throwing them off tempo. Notice that this artifact does have flash, so you can respond to things at instant speed. And as it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. So obviously you're going to know what that card name is. Spells with the chosen name cost 3 more to cast. And then activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So if they do have the, like Bombardiers, let's say, Bombardiers is an activated ability. So again, there is a cost associated with that. So that's what makes it, again, activated. So you do sacrifice something in order for it to happen. This is going to make it so it can't. So it's like Pithing Needle or, what are some other ones? I mean, you could flute a, Wasteland, right?
Well, so I actually think
because it does say card name.
Yeah. I actually think Disruptor Flute, the biggest thing on that is the flash. and making things cost that much more to cost in addition. Because like,
Right.
it increases the skill level of that card. Because like, say you're playing against me, you're siding that card in against me, but
Right.
when you cast it and what you name is relevant. Like, for example, say I'm in a position where I'm going very heavy on like a Burning Wish into a Peer into the Abyss. If you're aware of the meta and aware of what's in their sideboards and what they could potentially be getting, when they cast the Burning Wish, or say I cast a Beseech and I have no mana floating, what am I getting? What's my storm count? Am I getting a Gaia's Will so that I can cast my graveyards from my yard? You can go in response to the bargained Beseech, flash in this Disruptor Flute. I'll name Gaia's Will. You don't have the mana to pay for the Gaia's Will. It pigeonholes me into a very uncomfortable position. Now I might have to, like, if I'm going very aggressive on it and I've sacked all my artifacts and I've got no mana, now I'm forced into getting like a Burning Wish to go get a sorcery for my side to retry again next turn.
Right.
Or if I have lethal and I've already presented Storm 10 and then I go Beseech the Mirror and I'm going for a Tendrils of Agony, you can go Beseech on the stack, Disruptor Flute, name Tendrils of Agony, you're mad.
Right.
So like it's a skill intensive card too, because like in the sense that I'm playing something like that, you can go in response Flute, or like if someone goes in response Brainstorm, you go in response Flute. Name something that they're digging for. Like if they're actively digging for a Force of Will, you can name Force of Will on that, right? And it costs 3 more to cast, right?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. So like,
correct.
You can, in response to somebody's in-game action, slam a Flute and they get mad. It's a versatile, it's not narrow. It's not as narrow as Pithing Needle was. Granted, Needle does have its perks. Like you can get it with a Saga, but we're not a Saga deck because we're a Blood Moon deck.
Right.
So like Disruptor Flute is just actively it's a gotcha card while also saying hey, you can't do things card.
100%. And then we have our package of 5 anti-blue cards. So counter blue spell, or blow up target permanent. So everything from Nadus to, your Murktides, your Frogs, like any of your blue threats. We can easily take them away with 1 mana. Having a couple of them in hand, which is pretty nice. So you can, have them to, take care of issues if they do try to force any of your stuff. If you don't have the Vexing Bauble out there, then again, this will help you kind of play through that. So, 5 anti-blue cards that are in there is what we're working with. So now this website is called FlexSlot, which is pretty great for creating our sideboards. So if we go up here, we can import our legacy metagame. So we do that. These are kind of where we're at right now with our Dimir Reanimator, Red Stompy, Eldrazi, Dimir Tempo, Painter, Mystic Forge combo, Death and Taxes, Nadu, Breakfast, Jeskai Control, Rakdos Reanimator, Stifle Knot, Sneak and Show, and Beanstalk Control. So what it'll do, it's going to add those matchups in here so that way you can go through and start building your sideboard. So when we're looking at our sideboard, Ben, how do you approach kind of what you're trying to do with your sideboard? And I know yours is a little bit different as far as, Storm, but in general, generally speaking.
So for me, I've always with my sideboarding currently, I don't do it. I just trust what Bryant Cook does. But when I'm building a sideboard, so like the last time I was actively building my own sideboard was when I was playing Modern and I was playing Jeskai Control. And what I would do is I would look at other lists, and everybody has their own play styles, right? So like there are things that you're going to prefer to do in scenarios. And as a Jeskai Control player, when I was playing Jeskai Control, some people were playing like more proactive spells. rather than reactive spells. I like to play reactively. I want to minimize the amount of cards that I'm spending throughout the entire game until I can maximize an outcome.
Sure.
So for me, what I would do is I would look at every version of the deck that I could find that did well. And from there, I'd look at what they're playing and I'd look at the meta. Now, some matchups that people say they have a really hard time playing against, I just don't. That being said, some people that say I have a really easy time playing against this matchup, and I'll be like, that's one of my least favorite matchups. And it's just because of the way I play. I play a very reserved game for as long as I possibly can until I feel like I'm in a position that I can just go, all right, well, time to stun. Which is fine. Everybody plays a little bit differently. That being said, what I do is I look at everybody's sideboards, figure out why they're playing certain cards, figure out what matchups I have the hardest times with, and then focus on cards that are versatile enough to handle all of my matchups without narrowing my sideboard options. So what I mean by that is like, for example, in Legacy right now, Flusterstorm sees a lot of play. And Storm itself does not see a lot of play. The reason that Flusterstorm is seeing play is because it's a versatile card. Like it's good in control matchups just because having a counter target instant or sorcery spell for Storm 3 and they have to pay 3. Well, those are 3 individual copies on the stack, so it can't just be like Force of Willed vanilla, So like because of that mirror match or like those matchups having like that card having versatility of being playable against other blue decks while also being really good against Storm makes it a good sideboard card. Now, whoever put that in their sideboard has a difficult time against Storm and has a difficult time against a blue matchup or a non-creature matchup because they wanted that versatility to exist. Because in the scenario, they don't care about Storm at all. They're just going to have something a lot better in that slot, like that's not as narrow. Like maybe they'll have hell. If they're afraid of Storm, they're going to have Mindbreak Trap because they're like, I don't really care about my blue matchups that much. But at the same time, I'm not Legacy blue heavy, so they probably have shit. I don't know what's the 1-drop. Maybe it's just another consign. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just depends. Like if you're looking for versatility, you're looking at all the sideboards, figure out what matchups are your least favorite matchups to play against, and then look for cards that are good in those matchups, and then start narrowing down, okay, what other matchups are they good in? Can I use it versatily between these 2 matchups? And then go from there. So like the last time I built Control, a matchup that I had a really hard time with was anything red and fast. So like if you look at my sideboard, I was gaining life. Like I had Sun Droplet, which is a fucking great Magic card if you haven't read that card. And what else? Circle of Protection Red. Which Circle of Protection Red was a one of. It was a flex slot in the sideboard, but it was broad enough that all of my red matchups, it was relevant. So like Humans was popular, so I wasn't too afraid of the Humans matchup, but being able to turn off their Flyboy, like I don't get hit for that damage, is good. Like if they're, if they were trying to overinvest in it with like Hierarch beats or whatever, I go, okay, now you have to swing with your little guys and you can't just hit me with a big flyer because I can protect myself from it. But Sun Droplet, for anybody who isn't familiar with that card, it says anytime you're dealt damage, put that many counters on it at the beginning of each upkeep, remove a counter, gain a life. So like if someone bolts you, you put 3 counters on it. And then the next upkeep, you gain 1 life. The next upkeep, you gain 1 life. The next upkeep, you gain 1 life. Yeah, great card. And it's early.
Sun Droplet.
It's whenever you're dealt damage. So like, also this stacks. So if you have 2 Sun Droplets in play and someone lightning bolts you, you put 3 counters on each sun droplet. Each upkeep, you gain 2 life. So, like, over time, if you have 1 sun droplet in play, you will gain all of the life loss that you've been dealing with back. If you have 2, you net positive. So, like, it was good when you had counter magic and you were going against, like, a fair burn deck. Like, if I was going against burn, sun droplet it wins me games. Like, I turn 2 sun droplet, and then turn 3, I'm getting way too much value out of it. If I had another sun droplet, then I'm off to the races. I can't lose. But
now, when you're looking at it, are you looking at things like starting from scratch? Do you start with bringing in the stuff that you think will help, or taking out things like, again, we're starting from scratch, or are we taking out things that aren't working? Like, what is your approach to that?
So for me, I look at the sideboard and I immediately decide which cards are just absolutely not ever going to come in this matchup. So, like, for example, say you're playing against Storm. Are you able to zoom in on that a little bit or make the cards a little bit bigger? Just because
No.
It does everything except for the cards. All right, so
So this is for cephaloid breakfast. So let's talk about what is breakfast trying to do.
Well, so for anybody that watched yesterday, Tony played some brekkie. It's combo while also having like a mid-range blue plan to help get there. So the One Ring it doesn't save you because you don't die, so the protection doesn't help because you don't die, they win. So
right,
it's a potential cut, but let's look at the cards that all come in. All the blasts are great.
I think that for sure I think honestly everything except the macabre comes in is my thought on this.
Okay, why?
So being able to, so obviously the blast kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that jives.
The Dead and Gones, being able to, for 1 mana, do 2 damage to their white cards. The Nomads, return stuff to hand. Again, they have a 3/4 in the bird, so I want to be able to either return that to get damage, and then dig for that Pyroblast, or again, it's just universally, I feel like it's a good card to stop them. Yep. The Macabres, I think, are too situational for what we want to do. I feel like we want to end the game before they get the wizard in the graveyard. So that's why I'm thinking the Macabres.
Stop them from putting the wizard in the graveyard, then the Macabre isn't even necessary.
Right. So that makes sense there. Disruptor Flute's obviously just throwing off tempo. With Nadu, they don't have a problem getting lands on the field. But if we can tax that and buy turns, then I think we're in a good place.
Yeah.
Dealing 1 damage to each creature. I mean, between Illusionist, Nomads, Nadu, it's not going to hit Nadu as much, but being able to just get rid of their combo pieces, everything except, and Shuko included, I feel like this is the cephaloid breakfast card.
Well, I think Disruptor Flute's maybe the best card in the deck.
Yeah.
Just because you can in response to the Nadu, say they have a Shuko in play or a Nomads in play, and they go Nadu, you can in response slam in the Disruptor Flute, name Shuko. You don't get to do what you were wanting to do. Which, if they were investing on that heavily, you just go, all right, now you're just kind of stuck in this position where you cannot win. And I'm going to kill your Nadu now, so that way the overinvestment that you made, even if you're able to deal with the Disruptor Flute, you're stuck here to stare me in the face and watch me beat you in, which is great.
Yep. I love that. And now this is different too, based on the player on the draw, right? So, and the reason I say that is, we run Gemstone Caverns. So that loses its effect on the play versus on the draw. So right now we're looking at on the play. I just wanted to point that out because that is a little bit different, for what you want to do.
So you've got what? You've got 11 100% side in cards. There's 0% chance all of those cards aren't coming in.
Correct. Yeah.
So
now I just need to count to 11 over here, and I think you were onto something here with pulling the rings out. Again, I'm looking at like from a mana perspective too, that I want to get this game over with as soon as possible, and counting to 4. Dead. Yeah. So let's. I think the Goyfs are dead too.
I've never actually read Pyrogoyf, so I'm trusting your judgment on that one.
Yeah, so with Goyf, like as much as I love it, it is it's a turn 4, turn 2 to turn 4 card. And if you get an early Goyf, it's not powerful. So like this is more of a mid-rangey card, so I just feel like it comes out. I feel like the One Rings come out, and then the other thing that, again, when I look at, again, on the play, on the draw, I think that on the play, am I thinking about that right? With Gemstone Caverns, on the play, I don't want that. As long as you're not the starting player. Yeah, I read that right. Oh, it's getting late. So Gemstone Caverns, I feel like, is a dead card. Doesn't really do anything for our plan.
That checks.
So this is 12. So we need 3 more cards. So I don't know about, like, I don't feel like the Blood Moon is the pullout. I think Blood
Moon's dead. In my personal opinion, I think it's dead. Just because they're blue-white and they play so many basics. And
so what are they on right now? How many?
And they play and another reason why I think it's dead, any deck that I think can or has or is playing a Blood Moon or a Back to Basics in their side. So like has Nadu or has Breakfast at any point in time played fucking Back to Basics.
Back to Basics
is
at some point, I'm sure it has.
Is a thought process, because if, in my personal opinion, if the deck cares so little about untapping those lands that they are able to play those types of effects, is it good enough to keep in against them?
So here's my thought process for why I think Blood Moon stays in. Kills Sagas, so stops them from going to get Shuko.
Sure.
They're running a Plains and an Island.
Oh, you know what? Strictly off of the Sagas, I think you're right. I think you leave it in.
And then Cavernous Souls, making their wizard not uncounterable, which my counter spell is a destroy anyway, but then it gives them a chance to interact. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna keep those in, at least for now.
I forgot they played Urza Saga, and specifically because they play Urza Saga, it's just a free, hey, you don't get to go tutor a thing and play. Right. Which is
so
cool for
right
me.
Now we have 12, so we still need to get 3 cards out, I think. 3. I almost think that, like, out of my aggressive pieces, I feel like the Lelias, as much as I love them, I think they're coming out because I'd rather have a Fable for card selection. Simian Spirit Guide is my acceleration. Cursed Mirror, copying threats and tapping them, and it's just a good pitch card. Bombardiers is just, again, menace, haste. I get to chuck stuff, and then Fury is obviously going to stay in because that's my direct damage plan. So
direct damage and
I feel like that. I feel like that right there is good. On the draw, probably similar with the biggest difference probably being the. I'm probably not going to bring in one of the Fiery Confluences, and I'm going to bring the Gemstone Caverns in. right? I mean, Gemstone Caverns being able to have that out early. I feel like that's the play on the draw.
Yeah, I mean, you want to leave it in on the draw. It's just free mana. Like,
Right.
In the scenario, it's in your opening hand. It's essentially a free Chrome Mox. Like, it's just there's zero downside to it. Even if it were to just like go Gemstone for a mountain, I think you're okay with that. Like, if you want if you don't think you need more lands, like, I think that's just a free vanilla. Wait, so you dropped? Okay, yeah. So yeah, you actually,
and depending on how the matchup's going,
smashing read.
That is it'll do it deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, then it does twice X divided as you choose.
It might be okay to drop one of those for the Gemstone Cavern, just because the cost of it is insanely high, and you already have a decent amount of spot removal, don't you? You have Furies, you got Shatter Skull Smashing, and then
you do. And I think that the Shatter Skull comes in like if we're at turn 2 and they have a Nomad and an Illusionist, because what is Illusionists? But it's a 1/1. Nomads are a 1/1. Archamiebos are a 1/1. So just being able to take out 2 of those for 3 mana.
Yeah. I mean,
instead of
not
losing
bad.
a card. I mean,
well, the Fury might. There is also a good chance that you're not going to be able to pitch Fury because of Vexing Bubble. So
Vexing Bobble and also Teferi.
Yeah. So there's a decent chance.
I guess Teferi wouldn't stop me.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think Teferi stops you. Actually,
Teferi's not going to stop that.
Yeah. But
Bobble will.
Yeah, so maybe the Shatter Skull Smashing stays in. I don't know.
The Shatter Skull Smashing also helps with the Teferi in that I can deal damage directly to it as well. Especially if they come in. How many
do they play? Do they play 2, 1?
2. 2. So if they come in, they cast it, they're at 4 loyalty, they -3 to return the Blood Moon. I can then turn around and deal that 1 damage to it to get rid of the Teferi. So, again, I feel pretty good about that. We'll save that one. And then, so that's going to be towards a combo. Let's do, I wonder if let's add a matchup. We'll add Storm.
Hell yeah.
And then, so that way, again, my goal was just to, again, talk a little bit about, not necessarily go through each and every one of these, but again, just talk about and show kind of that process that we would go through for each of these matchups, right? So, I mean, we're already, we've been talking for almost an hour as it is, 45 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah, we're at 43 minutes. So again, this is very time consuming, but hopefully just the theory of kind of our approach to this can help new players as they're trying to build out their sideboards.
I also, by the way, for anyone watching, I have next to zero familiarity with any red. Red is probably the only time I've ever registered anything red. It was splashing it into a control list for Lightning Bolt or Helix. I am not a red player, so this is very anti my play style. So as far as any suggestions I would make, don't take them to heart until we start talking about sideboard guide for Storm, because I'll tell you what I'm afraid of, and I'll tell you what I really don't care about at all.
So, with that, sorry, I was getting a little parched, so I needed to refill.
That's what I got up for last time too. I got up for water.
If you saw me teleport, that's why.
Well, and when I'm sitting at the computer and when we're doing this, I finger fuck Magic cards. So I'm over here card flicking some cards, and I wanted to. There are a few of my cards that I like, and I wanted to put a fancy sleeve on them.
Nice.
But like, yeah, I got up for water and to finger fuck some cards.
Love that. So looking at our sideboard over here.
Is this for Storm?
So this is for Storm. Yep.
Hell yeah.
So what in this sideboard scares you?
Okay, so the blasts I'm afraid of. It's not that I'm afraid of them. I have to be aware of them. So, like, you have to bring them in order for me to, like, force you to have it. Because Echo of Eons is one of the ways that I win turn one. It's almost kind of... It's one of the best turn ones just because I can gamble for it and not be, like I can hard mulligan to 5 and then go Lion's Eye Diamond, land, gamble, get... Echo of Eons and try and go, but I can't just do that against you because there is always a chance that like you have Simian Spirit Guide Pyroblast, even if you aren't on the monkey list, which I'm assuming you play the Simian Spirit Guides, right? Yeah, they're there.
Yes.
So like
Yep.
I have to be aware of that being a potential thing, so I can't just go for it, or I have to wait until I have Veil and Thing. So like that's 100% something that you bring in.
And I wanted to really quick show kind of a ballpark of what we're looking at with Storm. I'm pretty sure this is the most updated.
Yeah, that's the stock up one even has Shattering Spree. Who was this? Who played this?
Bobby Rhombus.
Hell yeah. Look at Bobby Rhombus.
Taking 15th place, 2-2.
Rookie.
At the old Legacy Preliminary Asden Showdown.
Rookie. Yeah, so that's like the stock list. So like the Echo of Eons is something that I'm going to try and do turn one if I can, because like whatever hand you kept, I'd rather you not have it, and it increases my odds of winning. So like if you hard mulligan to 5 looking for a hate piece, I'm assuming that your hate piece can be played around if I play Echo of Eons correctly. So like I'm going to be actively digging for like an Echo of Eons where you have to get a new 7 that you weren't actively mulliganing for a hate piece. And if I can do an turn 1 Echo of Eons with protection, I will. But if I can't, I'm not going to. So the Pyroblast just being an existing potential turn 1 fuck you, I have to be aware of and recognize and respect. So like the blasts 100% of the time come in. All of them, every single one.
Let me bring back the old sideboard here.
And then...
Okay, so I got all of my blast effects. All 5 are there.
Those are all there. Disruptor Flute is 100%. That comes in every time without fail. Because of reasons that I said earlier. So like in the scenario, I'm out of mana and I cast a Beseech the Mirror with Bargain to go cast a spell to win the game. You can go in response to your Beseech. I will flash in this Disruptor Flute. I will name Tendrils of Agony. Or I will name Gaia's Will. And whatever you're doing, you can just effectively say no, which is great. Now, I will be pigeonholed into doing, like, if I was going for the lethal line, like, say I was going for Tendrils of Agony, it might pigeonhole me into getting a Song of Creation, in which case you're going to untap. Hopefully you have a Pyroblast or Red Elemental Blast so you can just blow it up. But, like, it forces me down forced you to have the Pyroblast because you just stopped me from winning. You know what I mean?
Sure. And just to remind people, a Song of Creation says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards, and at the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. So that sounds like 3 good things that are good for Storm players.
Insane. I will cast Lion's Eye Diamond. I will have a trigger on the stack to draw 2 cards. You're mad. Oh, hey, Brainstorm now draws 5 cards. Pretty all right.
I love that for you.
But like Disruptor Flute's bananas. Also, if I'm like choked on mana and I don't have a lethal line and Gaia's Will is bad, then maybe I'm going for the Song of Creation to try and set up for the next turn, or maybe that Song of Creation was supposed to help me win this turn. You can, in response, go Disruptor Flute, name Song of Creation. I don't have enough mana to pay for the Disruptor Flute and cast the Song of Creation. Now I'm fucked. Like,
Yeah.
it puts you in a very weird position. Like, Disruptor Flute is very good. That being said,
One might even say disrupting.
yes, absolutely. That being said, I do think that card has a high skill cap for this matchup. So, like, be aware of the cards that I'm tutoring, or else it's kind of just a bad card. If you don't know what I'm tutoring, like, a lot of times people have played like an on the play Disruptor Flute because they know to bring in Disruptor Flute, but they'll go, I'll play a Disruptor Flute, and then they name a fetch land in the blind, which you don't want to do, because if you do that, like, odds are you're going to name something that, like, I've had people name Polluted Delta. I don't register Polluted Delta currently. Like, it's 3 Bloodstained Mire, 3 Verdant Catacombs. You're welcome for the free information. It's on the Epic Storms website. But like, you don't name in the blind. Go into the matchup knowing the matchup. Get your reps. Like, know what I'm going to get. Know what I could get. If I cast a Beseech Bargain, think, what could he get? And say, hold on, slow down for a second. Think about what I could potentially get. You know, no one's going to yell at you for taking too much time until you take so much time that they're going to have to call a judge because slow play. But taking a reasonable amount of time and slowing down for a beat to think what could he get, and then actively think about my targets, do that. And then name what is the most important thing for me right now. Am I going to cast Gaia's Will and play all my shit and win? Am I going to cast Song of Creation? You know, think about it and then do it correct. Don't suck. Be good.
And I mean, if you're in that position of in the blind against you, I feel like, I mean, if there's a saga out there, maybe, you know, doing a saga, but Tendrils or Burning Wish, I feel like are two good calls, right?
Even if you're in the blind, you're never really forced to do it. It's got flash. So, like,
but we're not a hold on to mana type of thing, though. I mean, our play style is not to leave mana open. I guess if you have that in your hand, you can.
Well, but so what is the downside to doing it on my end step in regards to the difference between your main phase? So, like, there's no real reason to go.
If I have 3 mana out there and I have the option to Bombardiers or Lelia or any other thing, like, or I have a Disruptor Flute there, like, that's hard, right? Like,
yeah,
because I can put out my Bombardiers now, and deal damage.
I guess it just depends on what the rest of the board state is, because, like, if you have a Vexing Bauble in play, you're kind of already crunching me, and then you can put in a Lelia. If you don't have a Vexing Bauble in, I'd say hold up the Disruptor Flute, and then wait till I do something. If I do something, then slam the Disruptor Flute in response. If not, slam the Disruptor Flute on my end step. And then if you're naming it in the blind, what's the thing that I'm most likely to have, and make it cost more. So, like, I play 4 Burning Wish, 3 Beseech the Mirrors, and 4 Gambles. So then, like, think about, okay, he didn't do this. So if he didn't cast Gamble, why? He has the mana.
But your whole freaking list is scary.
All of it's scary.
Like,
but,
it
like,
is.
You have
like,
to think.
Oh, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll tax his Lion's Eye Diamonds, or I'll tax his Beseech. Then you're gonna Burning Wish and, like, just go wear it down or something. Like, so it's just such a scary thing.
One of the hardest things to learn in this format in general is what they could be holding. So, like, as you're playing, the entire time you're playing, just think, okay, he didn't cast a spell. What does that mean? What is he holding? Why is he holding it? So, like, in this matchup, there's no real reason for me to not slam my 0-drop artifacts, because, like, if you play, like, Vexing Bauble, I'm forced in a position where I can't cast them. Or if you, like, Disruptor Flute, I'm forced in a position where I can't cast them if you name them, you know? So, like, there's no real reason for me to not slam my artifacts unless I'm worried about you having a meltdown, which in that scenario, yeah, that sucks. But at the same time, like, I'd rather slam them out and then say go and then set up for a potential next turn I just go.
Right.
So, like, if I don't play something, you go, okay, he didn't have the turn 1 win. What is he holding, and what's he looking for to win? Is he looking for a Veil of Summer to have protection? Is he
I was
looking
just going
for
to
the
say
tutor?
that, yeah. Right.
So then, like, if the odds are
and I feel
high,
like if you have a Vexing Bauble out there already, then I'm going to name Veil of Summer because you're going to just get through that way.
yeah. So like now you're crunching me. So like just actively the entire time you're like, you have to think, what is he holding? And then based on what you think I'm holding, based on my actions or lack thereof, and like if we're on turn 3, I have a mountain in play and I didn't cast a spell. Why didn't he cast a Burning Wish or a Gamble? Is it because he doesn't have one? Okay, right. So if he doesn't have one, does he have enough mana to cast Beseech the Mirror? Okay, he doesn't have mana to cast Beseech the Mirror. So the odds of him holding a Beseech the Mirror, looking for mana so that he can cast it, are high. Now that I've held out and I have more information, I can slam a Disruptor Flute, not in the blind, with a little bit of information on why to cast it. So now you're naming Beseech the Mirror because you think there's a high probability that I have it because I haven't done anything. You know, like I'm incentivized to cast Burning Wish even if I'm not winning the game because I can grab something to set up. Like I can get a Galvanic Relay, or like I can get anything. Fucking Shattering Spree is phenomenal against you. Like there's cards that have legs that I can get. So
are you back to Shattering Spree over where?
Right now I'm playing Meltdown, but I like Shattering Spree a lot because like Shattering Spree.
But you were playing the green card, right? The Wear Down or something?
Wear Down. I like Wear Down a lot too. The reason that we're doing Shattering Spree is because of Replicate. So like Replicate is a copy of the spell, so like it's not something that like
when you cast the spell, copy it for each time you've paid the Replicate cost. You may choose new targets for the copies. Destroy target artifact.
So like
for 1 red mana.
It can still like beat through a Chalice. It can still beat through so if you have Chalice on 1, I can cast it and replicate it twice, and I can still get rid of multiple Chalices because the replicates still happen because they're not being cast; they're just being put on the stack. So that it's a cool way of being able to do it early without having to sacrifice my artifacts with a Meltdown. Whereas like if I were doing the Wear Down plan, I have to have Wear Down 2 mana, and I'm going to draw you a card. So like I like Wear Down a lot, but Shattering Spree has its benefits. It also just puts multiple copies on the stack. So like in the scenario that you're worried about, like copying someone countering multiple things, you can go, well, this, and then they're like, oh, well, I have 1 counter spell. Like it shuts down a Force of Will really well, but it's got its benefits. I still like Wear Down currently, but I could be sold on Shattering Spree.
Sure.
But yeah, Disruptor Flute, gas. Know your matchup, and in my personal opinion, the scariest time to play that card is on my end step or in response to a Beseech. So don't feel like you have to slam it in your main phase, because I think that's probably not correct. Wait till you get more information. Also, you can cast that in response to a Dark Ritual. Like if I was looking for mana and I go Dark Ritual, you can go in response Disruptor Flute, name Beseech the Mirror. Like it's just such a good card against me, and I think it's better in a reactive sense than it is in a proactive sense. But in the scenario you have to play it on a proactive sense, do it on my end step so that I'm like, you go, okay, I get to untap and slam a threat now. Now I go, I'll untap with the Disruptor Flute in play that's going to make your game harder, and then I'm going to play the Lelia. I'm going to play a Fury and put a giant dick in play that's going to beat whole,
Right.
For all of our mature
so
listeners.
From there, I don't think that does Fiery Confluence do much for you?
Probably not. Oh, what does that card do again? It kills creatures.
You could have it do 1 damage to each creature, do 2 damage to each opponent, so it could do 6 damage to you, or destroy target artifact, or up to 3 artifacts.
Nah, it's butts.
Yeah,
not good.
Fiery Macabre, not good enough.
It depends on how many side outs you have, but like probably not good enough.
And then Dead Gone is not doing anything to you.
Yeah, doing nothing. So we have 5, 6, 7 definites.
Sure.
The Ring is not bad. The Ring is a good card, so I would leave that in. Fury is a fucking big clock, but you don't really need the spot removal.
Right.
But it is.
I feel like they're coming out.
Yeah, that probably checks. Shattering Spree is very.
Curse Mirror, I don't think really does anything.
Curse Mirror doesn't really do a whole lot, so we're at 4, and we're doing 5, 6, 7. Leave the One Rings in.
Goyfs. Yeah, no, but Goyfs. I mean, how much are you filling up your graveyard? Because we don't fill up our graveyard a ton.
I probably don't fill up my graveyard until I win.
Right.
So like it's probably okay.
And it doesn't say flash.
Right. So
I feel like that's our 15.
Is it? I think that we're even heavy now, right? What are we at?
60 and 15.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably fine.
Because Blood Moon is still gonna kind of screw you over, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd play 3 sagas, so that's good. But also like
and
Blood
no
Moon's,
basics.
No basics. It forces me into doing artifact mana stuff, so like it makes Beseech a harder card to cast by a lot. So yeah, that's Blood Moon stays in. It's just a good card.
And then on the play versus the draw with the Gemstone Caverns. I mean, I'm probably.
You're okay bringing in. Actually on the play. You're probably okay bringing in Fairy.
I was gonna say like bringing in a Macabre.
Yeah.
Do something like that.
Yeah. What does Shatter Skull Smashing read?
Oh, it's doing damage to your creatures.
So cut. That card's dead against me. You're probably okay taking. But it's I was
gonna say it's my Chrome Mox fodder. Oh, Ghost Vacuums.
Yeah, dead.
I mean, are we doing
dead?
I feel like those are dead.
Does nothing. So fairies.
I feel like that. Yeah, I think we bring in fairies.
Okay, so then we
get rid of that. There we go. That feels good.
That feels good because like fairy isn't dead. It's just a flex slot against like if I go a Gaia's Will line, which I still have to respect. It's also not bad in a position where like I have an Echo of Eons in the yard for whatever reason. Like if I surveil an Echo of Eons in the yard, it's notable. It's notable to say that the only time I'm going to have an Echo in the yard is if I surveil it in there or if I'm forced to discard it based on Echo, like fucking Song of Creation, because you're never going to be able to fairy it any other time because in this scenario I'm cracking a Lion's Eye Diamond to discard my hand. That's a mana ability that you cannot respond to, so Fairy does not do it there. So Fairy isn't always going to be able to hit my Echo. But there are times that it can hit my Echo, which is relevant. But another big thing with Fairy is if I cast Gaia's Will, that goes on the stack. You know I'm going to play all my stuff from my yard. You have an opportunity to exile cards from my yard that would make my mana choked. So you could go like in response to the Gaia's Will, I'll exile your 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds or a Lion's Eye Diamond and a Dark Ritual. Or like if the only thing that I have in the yard to win the game is a Beseech the Mirror, you can go, I'll exile your Beseech the Mirror. So like it's got legs.
If that's the case, then maybe the Ghost Vacuum's better.
No, Ghost Vacuum says exile target creature, doesn't it?
Exile target card.
So, but you have to have it in play. So, like,
correct.
I don't think that's something. Also, if you have that in play, I'm probably going to actively just play around it and not care. Whereas, like the fairy, I'm going to be forced to.
You don't know about.
Yeah, there are still times where like you'll have that in your hand, and I'm gonna go. Well, if he fucking has it, he has it. I have to jam here because I don't think I'm going to get in a better position. But there are going to be times where I'm going to be trying to figure out what's in your hand. And if it's like turn 3 and I go, okay, he didn't play a threat. Why didn't he play a threat? It's probably a fairy or a pyroblast or a flute. You know, I still have to actively try and guess what you have in your hand and why you didn't do something. So like, it's still a good gotcha card.
real quick, I mean, backing up on the blasts. So we can only target, what, 7 cards in your deck?
The only 3 that matter are Echo Avions.
Right. So
I'd still say
I'm just
bring in
thinking
all 5.
Okay. So
and
not
the
more
only reason
graveyard
I say
hate.
that, because like I don't care about graveyard hate as much as like Ant does. The Gotcha Fairy is great, but one of my primary ways of helicoptering early in the game is Echo Avions, and being a deck that plays red and red blast and pyroblast, I have to just respect it 100% of the time. So like, also of note, you've got those. Oh, and Song of Creation is blue, so it hits that.
Oh, it hits that. Yep.
Yeah. So like, essentially, you have 4 targets, but 5 is totally fine because you want to increase the odds that you see it. Also, if you do hit the 5th one and you never plan on playing it, it also just becomes Chrome Mox fodder anyway. So like,
sure,
you know, it's never a dead card.
Yep.
But I think that's all gravy right there. That's all good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that is good for this episode. Again, we're just over an hour. Thank you so much. There we have 2 that are currently joining us online. So thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully this helped just kind of get an idea of thinking through. Again, if you look at this with FlexSlot, that's, you know, we still have to figure out the draw side versus the play side. But again, we wanted to, and we talked through that. We just wanted to kind of give you an overview of kind of how to approach sideboarding. I think doing an activity like this, especially if in your local kind of play group, you can sit down. Like Ben and I have obviously a relationship, and it's not
Sexual.
Well, yeah, that too. But it's not oh, I'm not going to show you any of my cards. Like, it's top secret information. It's like he wants to play against the best version of Prison, because that's what's going to get him better when he goes to things like Eternal Weekend or big events, right? So if you can find that local play group, like search out, or even online, like go into the other Discords and be like, hey, you know, Death and Taxes Discord, you know, I'm looking to, work with somebody to, figure this out. Or in your local meta, like talk to the breakfast players, talk to the, Death and Taxes players, and hopefully, you can share your information just like Ben did. He's like, this is what I am scared of. Okay. Because when I make the 1 hour drive to Stowe, Ohio, like I want to play against the best, right? Because that's what's going to prepare me. That's what's going to make me a better Magic player. So as long as you can find those like-minded people that want to play against the best version of that deck, you guys can help each other and grow and just be better players.
Can I add to that?
Hopefully, yep, go ahead.
So have that when you're having that conversation, and as somebody who is competitive and likes to be right, I usually, if I bring in a card, there was a reason why usually. And if someone goes, I wouldn't bring that in, don't say, well, I brought it in because of this, because the guy that is playing the deck is telling you that you're overboarding. There's probably a reason. And if you don't, if I say, hey, like in all seriousness, if you cut a flex card that is kind of good against me for that card, I wouldn't have done it. If I give you that information and you say, well, I brought it in, I'm just going to stop having the conversation. I'm going to go, yeah, all right, sounds good. Because you're going to continue to bring that card in, and I'm going to beat you more because of it. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
Like, put your ego aside for a second and just listen to, like, if it's somebody that, like, if I'm playing against Tony on lands and like he says, don't bring in this card, I don't really care, I'm going to go, sold. What would you do instead? Because he knows what he's afraid of. If he's not afraid of that card, why would I give a shit about playing it against him? Let's only focus on doing the things that actually beat them, and not the thing that you think actually beats them, because they know what they lose to. You don't.
Right. And that's what I'm even thinking now. Like, I had a match 2 weeks ago, or whatever, the last time I was at Stowe, against I was playing Jeskai aggro, and they were on Death and Taxes, splashing white or splashing black or splashing red. And, we had time after that match to kind of figure out, like, again, there were some changes there, but in my head, it's like, well, I could have, like, I'm not going to play against him again in that match. So I should have just asked him at that point, like, hey, like, here's my sideboard. Like, what scares you the most?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just show that you're just a student of the game, that you're wanting to learn more. And also, whenever you ask somebody for something, it kind of makes them feel good, right? So intrinsically, they're like, oh, he's asking me for help. Like, that makes me feel really good and I'm doing good things. So again, I think that you'll do fine if you just ask for that and give that respect. Like, hey, you just beat me. Or, hey, like, I'm just trying to get better. Even if I won, like, I still want your help. Like, what are some things that, did I have any misplays? And I remember the first time I played Modern, it was an SCG con. Literally, I played like 5 games on Moto and then went to the event. After every single game I asked, I said, hey, this is my first event. Is there anything I can improve on? And if they say, screw off or no, okay, cool. But I did get a lot of people that were like, hey, like, this is actually what the One Ring says. Like, because when I started, it was like that the One Ring was very new. I thought it just permanently gave them protection. Like, I just didn't know what the card said, right? Like, I just didn't even think about it. So, like, I wasn't attacking with things, and I was on hammer. So, like, I probably could have won some matches, right? And, like, even, like, tapping mana, I was like, oh, man, like, I tapped the wrong Nexus, right? And afterwards, like, I was talking to my buddies, and they're like, that's okay. Just, like, tell them, like, obviously you meant to tap the one that doesn't have summoning sickness. Like, duh. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like just a competition thing. So again, just ask, I think is a key tip there. And also, like, play the other decks, I think is huge. Getting some time behind, like, trying other decks. That's why we have the Legacy Library, is so people can try different things. This Sunday, I'm still up in the air what I'm going to play. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play Prison, but I'm getting some cards in case I want to play something else. But I try to play different decks throughout the week, because I try to do like a league a day is my goal. If not, like a league every couple days. And, I'll go grab Dimir Reanimator. I'll grab Sneak and Show. I'll grab all these other ones. So, like, I see their sideboard. And I'm like, okay, these are the kind of things they would probably bring in against me, especially being a Prison player. Like, I've been on Prison now for 8-ish months, probably a year. So now that it's higher in the meta, like, people are bringing in stuff against me. So, like, I have to be aware of those things as a player. So I think the first tip is obviously asking people that are good at the deck, what their thoughts are and what they're scariest. But the second, I think, is just trying other decks. It's very easy on MTGO to, it's not very expensive per month in order to, play those decks. And even if you get them in, print them out on paper in your local play group and, just see what the deck is doing. Look at the sideboard, study the sideboard, and be like, okay, this is what they're bringing in against me. I have to prepare for it, right? That's where you kind of get that intel. So those would be 2 tips that I have as far as sideboarding. And I think the third tip that Ben mentioned is slow down. Slow down. I think playing MTGO, like, I feel like we're just pressured to, like, make fast plays because they're that timer, right? They're trying to ensure that it's, going. But in real life, like, that's just not the case, right? So again, don't draw out your play where it's like, Nadu level turns where you're taking, an hour. Instead, like, just slow down and ask yourself, what are they doing? What are they not doing? I think that's something that you definitely have to ask yourself that Ben brought up. Like, what are they not doing? And then from there, just process through it. What do I have? What resources do I have that I can work through? And then make that decision. And when you're sideboarding, think to yourself, like, it's great if you have this sideboard guide. Let me pull up. I did want to show one more feature of
while you're pulling that up. The 30 to 45 seconds that you're taking to think about what the proper play is, would you rather take 30 to 45 seconds thinking about the proper play, or 30 to 45 seconds thinking about how to make up for the improper play that you already made? Like, you're going to spend the time in the matchup. Do it at the right time. Do it thinking about what the right line is, not how to make up for the wrong line that you already made. Like, just take the breath, slow down, and play your deck. Like, I love a new Delver player when they miss triggers on Darcy. Like, at locals, I'm gonna say, hey, like, yeah, but like, be more aware of it. We're locals. I don't really give a shit. But at a big event, if you missed your Darcy trigger and then you've started resolving your spell, dog, you missed it. I'm sorry, but the whole point of that deck is, like, it's a hard deck to play well and play efficiently, and you're not. And that's kind of opponent misplay is one of my favorite win conditions. Like, you know, slow down, take a breath, make sure you're doing the things correctly, make sure you're casting spells correctly, because, like, you're going to take that time elsewhere, whether it's in the think tank trying to figure out how to recover, or tilted off the face of the earth because you lost because you made a misplay.
100%. So if we're on FlexSlot, you should see that up on the screen. If you go down here to the bottom, you have this option for download. So from here, you have the full export in the Excel file. So that will give you from left to right, what you bring and what you bring out. And then you also have this abridged text export. So you can bring a sideboard to your matches, right? And at heavy play, we actually have like a accordion card that will fit in your deck box to have that. Okay. So in between games, you pull out the sideboard, pull in the cards, pull out the cards, and play the game. Okay. Don't think about it. You've already put the time in to think through. I mean, we just talked about, for an hour and 20 minutes for 2 matchups, and we didn't really go super in depth. Like, I feel like we did okay, but like, you've already done the work to build the sideboard. Just have it there and then pull it out, make the selections, and relax. Okay. So again, we want to make sure that we have a copy of this with us. So then let me share my actual entire screen. Sure. Let's minimize this. And then here is an example of the abridged version. I don't have Excel on this Mac, so I couldn't show you the Excel version. But so we can see here, if I'm playing against Cephalid Breakfast, I'm going through, I'm grabbing 3 of my Confluence, 3 of my Pyroblast, 2 Disruptor Flutes, 1 Dead Gone, 2 blah, blah, blah. And then I'm taking out these cards. Okay, so I instantly see it because I've done the work in order to know what that sideboard is. So just have these pieces of paper there. Now, as you go through, like, you'll get more comfortable and you'll know, what you need to do. But when you're just getting started, have a printed copy of that sideboard. Also, Patreon is a good place to find sideboards already done. So, just doing a Google search there in the Discord channels and stuff, you can find sideboards that are already created. Okay, so I think we 100% beat that dead horse just on sideboarding alone and doing a little bit of live sideboard action with Prison. Ben, do you have any closing thoughts before we end this episode?
At the end of the day, if you win or lose, have fun.
Yep.
It's not about the magic. It's about the gathering. It's fucking either way. You're having a good time. If you like playing competitively and you like casting good spells and you like to do it efficiently, get better at your own pace. I mean, we've all been playing Magic for different times. Some of us longer than others. Some of us just getting in. Just if you want to get good fast, it doesn't happen overnight. Just hang out, play, learn, enjoy it, and eventually it'll come. If you want to be a competitive Magic player, if you don't, and you want to play casual Magic, that's fun too.
Yep. 100%. Yep. And it's not winner. And to me, it's like, it's not win or lose. It's win and learn. You know what I mean? Like even if I won, I learn. Even if I lost, I learn. It's win and learn when I'm playing Magic. So as long as you're doing that, you're doing the right thing. There's a reason this is the most complicated game in creation, right? There's just so many interactions, thousands of cards, and it's not easy. unless you're playing cephalid breakfast like Tony Plowshares,
Right.
then it's just easy mode, obviously.
Yeah, your opponents make stupid misplays and you get free wins. Dude, that was so I'll never forget that for the rest of eternity.
Right.
Like he
and
was
we all
just dead
saw
on
it
board.
too.
Yeah, he was dead on board and his opponent just was like, sure, kill the thing. And then you go, all right, go to the next main, good game. And I'm like, fuck, dude. I wish I got fucking easy wins like that all the time.
Right. Dude's touched by an angel.
Right.
All right, we're going to go ahead and end it there at a minute or an hour 20. If you need anything or have any questions about sideboarding, please leave them in the comments below. Just a quick reminder, we do have Eternal Weekend right around the corner, and we are doing our meetup. Okay, so if you are coming to Eternal Weekend, please, let us know, stop by. Like I said in the previous thing, I do stand by it. The first drink's on us. Ben did promise body shots. His first one, like he said, is literally on the body. So we are doing an Ohio Eternal meetup. We will have swag there to give away. So please stop by. This is walking distance from the convention center. And it's a really cool thing where you get these little cards, you walk up, you fill up your glass. Again, the best part of Magic is the gathering, and we hope that you gather with us 6 p.m. Thursday on November 21st. That's at the beginning of the con there, right around the corner. So if you have questions or anything, please feel free to reach out, shoot us a message. We do have our Discord link there with that QR code, but you can always go to eternal.rocks or just do a Google search for Ohio Eternal, and it'll get you to our Discord. Okay, so you can join, have fun, and ask questions and be part of our gathering, part of our community. With that, I'm signing off. It is way past my bedtime. We got to wake up at 4 and get the workout in. So, Ben, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. Have a good night.
Then,
we'll see you.
Miss you already.
Miss you already.